Hello, it's Kent and Renee Miller again, back to talk about the lessons in the Augmentation of Man, a study in Renaissance.
And today we're going to talk about dimensions, part 2. Actually, we're going to try to explain dimensions a little bit better, pages 81 and 83. And somewhat review of the dimensions, part 1, where the universe, we're trying to explain now that the universe has many, many dimensions. And
we would first like to recommend that you go back and review the YouTube that we put out on Dimensions Part 1 to refresh your memory, or if you haven't seen it, it would be good to start with that, because we go into detail about the first 4 dimensions, and we're going to pick up from there.
Yeah. And when we say we live physically in this body in 3 dimensions, but when we say the 4th dimension, this where the soul resides, that is the understanding and the learning. That's where that resides.
And that the soul has the composite of learning and understanding from all lifetimes. So what we're trying to do is use the 4th dimension to really get to know ourselves on a 4th dimensional level at the soul level. And so we're going to discuss how we do that, but also why and some precautions that are necessary too.
Yeah, and the 4th dimension has to do with your past and possible path to your future. And it's what, very metaphoric?
It's metaphoric and symbolic, much like your dreams. So you're going to need a good dream dictionary, and maybe more than one. We like one in particular called I Had the Strangest Dream. So you want to really start with that dictionary and get to use it well.
Yeah. So we can go into the 4th in meditation and in dreams. And in that, we are given points of view which we may not understand initially, but it has to do with understanding and learning. And if you take your time, write down meditation or write down the dream, and then be able to go back to it and try to decipher what the meaning is, there's usually a key to your path given in either one of those.
Yes, and so it's all about ourselves. Even though the dreams have other people in them, they're symbolic and representative of things that we're trying to understand at the soul level. Mm-hmm. So you really want to focus on, this is about me and not about other people so much. Yeah. So when we have dreams, they can be, metaphoric, symbolic, they can be a little obscure. The meditation is used to obtain visions that help fill in the gaps things that we don't understand through our dream state.
Yeah, so we have to be, first of all, before you can do all these things, you have to be able to know who you are. Know your soul eventually. And there's things that will come out that you haven't thought about in many, many, many years that you may not like, but it's learning the truth of who we are.
So our soul has all these memories of past lifetimes, and though we don't have access to that right now,
we have to
eventually
learn about ourselves in this life right now before we go in the other areas.
Right, and so each lifetime we are experiencing different things, and we don't need to have access to the totality of this understanding of the soul in order to complete some of these lessons that we're working on now. We will have some access to what we need in this lifetime, but we need to focus on the truth of who we are at the soul level. So we're learning how to understand ourselves on a much deeper level, but also where we are on our path. So where we have been and where we are going, and where we can judge where we are in our path.
Learning process.
That's right.
The whole thing, and you have to be willing. You have to be willing to learn and understand, and be able to do some homework, research. It's a temporary learning field. Each dimension that one goes in is a higher learning process. So
and it's all based on it's all based on the previous learning, and so also in the fourth dimension, we're learning where we fit into the rest of creation. And that's very important because humanity has this tendency to put ourselves up much higher than where we really are at in relation to the rest of creation. So when we use meditation, we can have visions where it helps us to understand where we fit in a much larger picture. The fourth dimension is also the hardest, and it takes the longest. We've been working on the fourth dimension for a long, long time, and we have to learn from all the past lives and bring all that learning together into cohesive understanding at the soul level before we can move on. We have to master the first four dimensions before we can move on.
You have to find out what you really want to learn. Contemplate the reasoning behind your learning, what you really want to learn, and then be able to understand that higher level before you can go to it. You can't just go from one level to the next and not understand the value of each, because if you go beyond your understanding, there are consequences that will be paid, and extreme consequences when attempting to do that.
At the soul level.
Yeah.
So it can be very devastating at the soul level if you're trying to reach beyond your level of understanding and you try to get into these higher dimensions before you're ready for it. So it's extremely important, and we have been cautioned ourselves through the ancients to not go to higher levels until you're ready for it. And we must really focus on completion of and mastering of the first four dimensions to fully understand who we are at the soul level and where we fit into the picture of all of creation before we move on to fifth dimensional learning. Now, so how do we go about doing that?
Well, this is, say you raise your vibration, but most people don't even know what vibration is or how to even control their own vibration.
Remember, vibration always correlates to levels of understanding. Yeah. So as we gain higher and higher levels of understanding, we have vibrational attunements along the way, little step up in our vibration.
Your past life, or your past, in this life, experiences, what they mean, why you experience them. There's a value to all your experiences, even though you think, oh, they did this person did this to me, or that person did that to me. All these have value in learning.
And to reflect out a judgmental analysis of what has happened in your life and to reflect it onto others is not the proper way to gain higher levels of understanding. So you're not internalizing the lesson. You're not saying, what do I have to learn from this lesson? What is my part in it, and why did I choose this pathway? That is where the real level of understanding comes in the vibrational attunements. If we look at it in a judgmental way and we say, well, this happened to me and this person did that to me.
Where you become a victim rather than learning.
Absolutely. You're becoming a victim and you're not learning. The same with taking drugs and alcohol is that we don't fully learn the consequences of the lessons, and these are just lessons. It's not to be viewed in a judgmental way.
Well, let's talk about the physical body in the fourth. Describe the physical body, the subatomic level.
Okay, so moving into when we are getting ready to complete the fourth dimensional understanding, our physical body can move into a fourth dimensional state. However, the body is going to be much like our bodies are now in a third dimension. There's a little tweaking that occurs, and
basically we still look the same still.
Right, and so they have described these spherical bodies have to be prepared, but it's done very quickly. So that is something that can be done quickly. Those spherical bodies relate to how we operate at a subatomic level, and how the cells on a subatomic level can accept the magnetic field to which that dimension
vibrates.
And we're talking about fourth dimension here, to which that fourth dimension is stabilized. That energy of the fourth dimension is stabilized at a subatomic level. And so, and that can continue on for other dimensions as well, but we're talking about moving in fourth dimensional physicality at this point.
Yeah, in the fourth dimension, you must establish a firm, stable foundation of understanding
of who you are at the soul level and where you fit in to the rest of creation. So that is absolutely mandatory that we master that particular aspect of the fourth dimensional.
Right. So
field.
What are the masters? Those masters such as Buddha, Jesus, Yogananda, etc. What they were able to go master the fourth dimension and approach the fifth, which we cannot do in this lifetime.
So the masters, to have an idea of how this works, they were able to walk on water. They're able to project thoughts telepathically, so they can speak to large masses without using their mouth. They are able to do many things that we consider to be miraculous. They can heal people. They can project themselves as holograms. These are all learnings from the fifth and sixth dimensions. So it's important that we master the fourth dimension to have a stable foundation to which to build on before we move on. And so we're not moving into the fifth dimension yet, contrary to popular belief systems. We're not ready for that yet as a whole of society.
As mankind is not ready to move into the fifth dimension. We may be shown possibly, but I can't say this for sure, but we may be shown the aura or the shadow of the fifth, but we cannot move into the fifth dimension, mankind, as they sit right now.
So it's in little steps, and we have to fully complete each step before moving up.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with intelligence.
Right.
Period. Intelligence is a totally different path.
It's a level of understanding. It's on a spiritual level, but
it's on a soul level of knowing your soul, knowing why you were born to the parents that you chose, why these different events happened from the very early inception of your life until today, or what may happen coming up in the near future. You have to understand each and every event, the value of it in your path, and why that was taken.
Yeah, and so again, not becoming the victim. In most cases, we are at, individually and collectively, where we are at today, based on the sum total of all our decision making. Now, it's not saying that accidents don't happen, because they do. However, we must assume full responsibility for where we are at in our lives based on the decisions that we have made in order to fully process our lessons and to get the vibrational attunement to move up higher and closer to that fifth dimension.
Yeah, mankind has to come together as a unified group of individuals or entities. We cannot survive in the level that we're going. We cannot become separated in opposite directions. This will never, ever work for humanity. We have to become a sum of all,
a unifying
group. We have to understand our soul level, or our level of vibration of understanding has to be increased, or we begin to learn. If we don't do any of these things, I don't know where mankind or the human race is going to end up.
We have to go through these lessons. And the one other thing I want to throw in there about the fifth dimension, there's a lot of people out there who are promoting that we're physically moving into the fifth dimension, which we are saying,
No.
the ancients are saying, I should say.
Yeah.
The ancients are saying that's not happening yet. The fifth dimensional body is a much different body than we have now. So we're about to move into a fourth dimensional body, not a fifth dimensional body yet. And that is a lighter body, is a higher vibration.
A new species of humanity.
It requires our physical death of this body now and a reincarnation into a completely different body.
Now, with that information that we gave you, I want you to contemplate this video. Think about it. Go back over it 2, maybe twice, 3 times if you have to. But contemplate what we said. We have to become neutral in the way we visualize events. Don't take one side or the other, but to understand the truth of the event, you have to become neutral. Sometimes there's the old phrase, you can't see the forest because the tree is in your way.
And it's our past, what's the word I'm looking for, like our programming.
Yeah.
So it's time that we kind of wipe the counter clean.
Ourselves.
We need to reprogram our minds, and it takes a conscious effort to open up our thought process and be able to really contemplate new ideas. This world, we're living in a lot of misperceptions, and so we urge you to open the mind up, work on it every day, contemplate new ideas, and use your deciphering to balance. We always need to decipher. And so if we believe everything, that's not good. If we have our blinders on and we're very narrow in our thinking, that's not good either. So open our minds, but balance it with deciphering.
And it's going to take a lot of effort. You're never too old to learn and understand it. Never. So no matter if you're 18 or you're 89, you're never too old to begin understanding and move forward on who you are, why you are here, and what your path needs to be as laid out by the creator of the creation.
And I was just thinking, there's one other thing that we really need to clarify is there's dimensions in which we can live in, but there's also dimensional fields that we enter through meditation and through dream state.
Temporary fields.
They're temporary fields versus a physical field. So we're talking about 2 different things here. So we're living in 3 dimensions. We're working on the 4th dimension, and it's all within the mind. Then we move into we move into a 4th dimensional physical state, and we complete the 4th dimensions while we start working mentally in the 5th dimension. So, and then that happens.
That will not come in this lifetime.
Right, and we have to work on that, entering into temporary mental states, visions in the 5th dimension before we move into a physical 5th dimension. So that's how it works.
Yeah. So with that, we hope you have a great week of learning. You have to do your own research. Nobody else is going to do it for you to learn about yourself. Okay, you can't go to a psychic and say, tell me about myself. You have to learn yourself. A lot of it will not be very pleasant, but once you accept it, it really makes a clarity on who you are.
And once you complete this 4th dimensional learning field, it starts to move a lot faster. So that's the good news.
Yeah, with that, I want to thank you. Have a great week.
Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.